Discover the amazing transformation after my shocking wedding eve betrayal. Parents left trembling. Emily stood frozen at the entrance of the diner, her heart twisting with disbelief. The warm, comforting scent of pancakes and freshly brewed coffee felt foreign in the wake of the betrayal she had just witnessed. Jack, her high school sweetheart, had been the embodiment of everything she had held dear. His laughter echoed in her mind, a reminder of their shared dreams for the future. And yet, the image of him, entangled with another woman, a devastating sight that shattered her vibrant plans for their wedding, cut through her like glass. Questions slammed into her thoughts like an avalanche. How could this happen? What would her family think? The diner, a sanctuary where she had grown up, had been a testament to their dedication and hard work. Now it loomed behind her like a ghost, peppered with memories of love and laughter. Could she stand tall when whispers of betrayal echoed through the town? The weight of it all pressed down, suffocating her resolve. A dull ache settled in the pit of her stomach as anxiety coiled tighter. Emily felt like a jigsaw puzzle missing its crucial pieces. She had spent years striving for perfection, the model daughter, the upstanding fiancée. Now every ideal was grotesquely tainted. Was she about to become the very scandal she had always feared? Her parents, a blend of hard work and unwavering support, deserved better. What if she tarnished their legacy, their beloved diner, and everything they had sacrificed for her education? A potent storm brewed in her heart. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each breath, she wrestled against despair's suffocating hold, trying to regain her composure. Yet the gnawing fear of facing the town's judgment consumed her. How could she confront Jack when every nerve in her body screamed for revenge? Images flashed in her mind: confrontations, accusations, the diner's wooden booths bearing witness to her pain. Would retribution ease her anguish, or would it drag her deeper into a pit of moral decay she had vowed to avoid? Just as realization flooded in, that Jack's betrayal was a pivotal moment in her life, another was looming like a dark cloud. Whispers reached her about Jack's insidious intentions towards the diner, her family's pride. Emily's heart raced. Would he dare turn his back on everything they had built together? The anger bubbled beneath the surface, overwhelming her as she envisioned the betrayal multiplying. This was not just about love squashed, but the fight for her family's place, for her childhood home. As time ticked away, Emily felt trapped in a reality laden with obligations to her family, herself, and the memories of love lost. The moment of confrontation with Jack drew near, and she grappled with the choices that lay ahead. Would she rise for justice, or would she fall into the abyss of revenge? The answer evaded her as uncertainty wrapped around her like a torrential storm, forcing her to confront her greatest demons and the repercussions that would follow. The burden to reclaim her narrative pressed heavily on her shoulders as she took a deep breath, inching closer to an inevitable reckoning, realizing the choices she made tonight would reshape not only her future, but also the lives of everyone she held dear. Emily stepped away from the diner, each footfall echoing a newfound resilience. The din of the familiar town, once a comfort, now seemed suffocating. She hugged her arms around herself, as if to ward off judgments and expectations, and fought against the tide of despair that threatened to pull her under. It was time for a reckoning, not just with Jack, but with herself. As she made her way through the maze of memories lining the streets, the weight of the past pressed against her chest, but with each moment, a flicker of anger ignited within. She realized she had been living for everyone but herself, neatly packaged into a mold that her family and society had shaped. This betrayal, in a twisted sense, offered her the chance to break free. Determination surged as she reached her favorite bench beside the old oak tree, a steadfast part of her life since childhood. Taking a seat, Emily reflected on everything she had sacrificed. Dreams, ambitions, the authenticity of who she wanted to be. The thought of Jack, someone she had trusted with her heart, had pushed her to conform to the version of herself he desired, even if she hadn't recognized it at the time. She needed clarity, a blueprint for who she could become beyond this excruciating betrayal. Would she allow it to mold her into a figure of pity, or use it as fuel to launch herself into her own identity? Emily pulled out her phone, the bright screen lighting up the dimming evening. As she perused her favorite online workshops, she stumbled upon a seminar on personal growth and entrepreneurship. The thought of possibly taking over the diner, forging her path, ignited something in her stomach that felt almost like hope. The brief flicker of excitement brought a sense of urgency crashing back down. The whispers of malicious indignities and Jack's greedy intentions churned in her mind again. If she went forward and claimed the diner as her own, she had to confront the man who had betrayed not only her heart but her family's legacy. She had to prepare herself for the fight ahead, not just against him, but against the image of what was expected of her as the wronged woman. Victory wouldn't just mean reclaiming what was lost but redefining her existence. Standing up from the bench, her breath steadied, and she cultivated that spark of determination into a flame. She would confront Jack, not as a victim, but as an architect of her destiny. Tonight she would call him out. Tonight she would lay her cards on the table, unafraid to shake the foundations of the deceit that had threatened to drown her. Emily envisioned her words, loaded with the power of truth and unleashed passion, ready to dismantle every facade Jack had built. Could she muster the courage to cut through the noise and deliver a counter-narrative that would rise above the betrayal? Or would she crumble under the weight of her emotions, letting their history render her powerless? As the first stars twinkled to life in the darkening sky, Emily took a deep breath, channeling every ounce of grit into her resolve. Tension hung thickly in the air as she prepared to step into the unknown. The confrontation promised to reshape her life, but she also anticipated the fallout, a rekindled fight against not just Jack, but chaos itself threatening her family's diner. Time was ticking toward the inevitable clash that would determine her path. Would she emerge victorious, seizing her future? Or would the past's shadow extend just a bit further, keeping her chained to the memories of a love once held dear? The night was unyielding, and so too would her spirit be. The hours dwindled and she had to act soon. Could she truly harness her strength and become the woman she was meant to be, breaking free from the shackles of betrayal? The confrontation was set, and with each tick of the clock, tension coiled tighter around Emily's chest. She arrived at Jack's place, the modest brick house feeling foreign yet familiar. The facade, once a comforting backdrop to their shared dreams, now repulsed her. The memories inside were tainted, but they were also a gauge of how far she had come. As she knocked on the door, doubt crept in. What if he dismissed her? What if he twisted her words, portraying her as the villain in a narrative she no longer wanted to claim? Her mind raced through every possibility while her heart beat resolutely against her ribcage. This wasn't just about reclaiming the diner. It was about unshackling herself from years of compliance and misguided loyalty. Jack opened the door, surprise flickering across his face. His casual demeanor was disarming. What's up? The way he leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, seemed to embody a confident arrogance. How could he be so relaxed? Did he feel no remorse for the damage he had caused? Can we talk? She forced the words out, her voice steadied by a blend of fear and conviction. Sure. What's going on? He asked, stepping aside. Once inside, the atmosphere shifted. Memories danced around them, remnants of shared laughter now shadowed by the anguish in her heart. Resisting the urge to falter, Emily focused on the task ahead. Jack gestured toward the living room, motioning for her to sit, but she remained standing, anchored by her resolve. I know about Sarah, she stated, the words sharp on her tongue. The unexpected confidence surprised her even as she spoke. And I know you're planning to take the diner from my family. It's not just a business. It's my heritage. You can't take that away. He looked nonplussed, amusement flickering in his eyes. You seriously think you can just step in and reclaim everything? You've always been so naive, Em. Her anger flared, but with it came clarity. Naive? I might have been blind to your betrayal, but now I see everything. I've let you dictate my life for far too long. You no longer have power over me. Jack's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. You wouldn't last a month running that place. You wouldn't even know where to start. Her breath caught. Fear and determination wrestled inside her. She owed it to herself, no, to the legacy of her family, to prove him wrong. I may be inexperienced, but I'm willing to learn. I will surround myself with people who can help me. I will fight for what's mine, for what my family built. Good luck with that, he replied coolly, but the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes told her she was striking a nerve. Don't underestimate me, she warned, locking eyes with him. This isn't just about the diner. It's about my life, my choices. I refuse to be the woman who stays silent while her dreams are torn from her. In that moment the power balance shifted imperceptibly. Jack's facade was cracking, and in it, Emily found a flicker of hope, her resolve anchored in the precaution that this was only the beginning. As she turned to leave, she felt empowered, fortified by the feelings that had lain dormant for too long. Emily could harness adversity to cultivate her resilience, turning anguish into motivation. But the journey forward would be fraught with challenges, and the confrontation with Jack opened a floodgate of questions about who she wanted to become. Could she navigate the tumultuous waters of her family business while fortifying her self-worth? With the door closing behind her, Emily prepared to step into the next chapter of her life. The diner awaited her, but so did the uncharted territory of self-discovery and transformation. In the stillness of the night air, a thought ignited within her. What if, in facing Jack, she had inadvertently awakened something greater within herself? As a possibility began to unfurl, she realized the true battle was just beginning, one that would challenge everything she thought she knew about herself. And deep down, she knew that confronting her legacy was necessary. But the question loomed large. Would she have the strength to claim her identity amidst the chaos of betrayal? The streetlights flickered as Emily walked away from Jack's house, the adrenaline from their confrontation still coursing through her veins. With each step, the weight of uncertainty shifted into a tentative stride of possibility. The loneliness of the path ahead loomed, but there was a newfound sense of purpose shimmering beneath her surface, a flicker ignited by raw confrontation. Navigating this new reality would not be easy. Thoughts swirled in her mind like autumn leaves caught in a gust. She imagined the diner, a mosaic of memories and aspirations, waiting for her return. The idea of reclaiming it resounded, but she knew she'd need more than just determination. She'd need a plan, a network, and perhaps, dare she think it, support. That night, Emily dedicated herself to mapping out her next steps. Sitting at her kitchen table, a half-finished cup of coffee growing cold beside her, she leaned over a stack of loose papers. Embracing the initial uncertainty of her venture awoke a long-dormant excitement within her. She grabbed a pen and began to write. 1. Research. Gather insights about the diner's operations, understand the business model, and identify the gaps she must fill. 2. Learn from the best. Seek mentorship from experienced restaurateurs, preferably from families who had weathered their share of storms. 3. Create a support network. Reconnect with the locals and former employees. They could be her allies. As the list grew, so did her confidence. Each item acted as a lodestar guiding her through the fog of doubt. But another thought intruded, a hard truth about her current status. Although she was determined to make her mark, she had little experience to draw upon. The fear of failing loomed large. Could she truly rise above the limitations that Jack had so cruelly illuminated? Ambivalence tugged at her heart. Yet a more profound feeling struck, one that urged her to chase her ambitions despite the fear. Alone in her kitchen, she made an internal vow. She would transform her perceived weaknesses into strengths. A blend of exhilaration and fear coursed through her, a raw honesty she had shunned for too long. The next day she made her first call to Sarah, an old high school friend who had since become a successful restaurant manager in the city. After a few rings, Sarah picked up, her voice easy and familiar. Emily hesitated, but the potential for connection overpowered the lingering discomfort. Hey Sarah, it's Emily. I'm hoping to talk about running a diner. Day by day, she immersed herself in the community. The old, neglected diner became a canvas of dreams, as she enlisted the help of former employees eager to lend their skills. They met after hours discussing menu ideas, operational strategies, and their collective nostalgia for the bustling hub it once was. But amidst these meetings, the specter of Jack lurked, the bitterness of his words still fresh. Could she truly show him and everyone else that she was more than the name he'd cast aside? Despite the progress, anxiety crept in. The next confrontation would come, and she would need to be ready. One evening, as she walked home after a particularly invigorating meeting, Emily felt the electric pulse of purpose resonate within her. But it was not just about reclaiming the diner. It was about forming an unbreakable identity, a standing testament to her resilience, principles, and deep-rooted ambitions. Fueling her momentum, she defined herself not by her past but by her aspirations. Who was she at her core beyond the betrayal? What was she capable of achieving? These questions loomed large, layered not merely with anticipation but with urgency. With the diner as her battleground, the real challenge awaited. The confrontation with Jack was inevitable. But would she summon the strength to protect her emerging identity? Or would she shatter under the pressure? The answer was coming, felt just beneath the surface, ready to emerge. Emily's resolve crystallized into action as the days slipped into weeks. The diner had transformed from a mere vision into a battleground of ambition and tenacity. However, beneath the surface of her newfound confidence lay the constant weight of uncertainty. Each day began with a renewed sense of purpose and a hint of fear bubbling at the edges of her consciousness. The meetings with former employees had ignited a community spirit, but Emily found herself questioning whether her leadership could truly foster change. Every brainstorming session uplifted her revolutionary ideas, but moments of self-doubt crept in like shadows. Was her leadership style strong enough to handle setbacks? Could she motivate a team wrought with nostalgia, urging them forward instead of dwelling on better days gone by? As she prepared for the diner's soft relaunch in 2 weeks, Emily meticulously crafted a plan. In her small corner office, scattered with blueprints and menus, she scrutinized her strategies. A chalkboard plastered with colorful notes labeled each area needing improvement: marketing, menu refinement, and customer service training. But the greatest lesson lay outside the walls of that office. Inspired by Sarah's wise mentorship, she planned a meetup with local business owners. She sought stories of struggle, those not grandiose tales of success, but genuine encounters with failure that boiled down to hard-won lessons. Maybe they held the key to the fears she was battling. Could she align her motivations with the resilience required to not only persist but thrive? When the day of the business meet arrived, Emily felt an exhilarating jolt of fear. A cacophony of voices filled the small cafe as she entered, each conversation a stream pulsing with vibrant energy. Emily felt small but pushed forward into the crowd, casting aside the lingering voice of Jack that whispered echoes of doubt. Taking a deep breath, she approached a well-established restaurateur named Mr. Jenkins. Their conversation unfolded surprisingly rapidly. Emily listened, absorbing each nuance of his journey, the hardships, lessons learned, and the grit behind his success. "They'll take you seriously when you know who you are and what you stand for," he said, locking eyes with her. This was the reassurance she craved. The message that authenticity often bridges even the deepest chasms of inexperience. As Mr. Jenkins shared anecdotes, a flicker of understanding danced in Emily's mind. She realized she could leverage her unique story, her past, her failures, her vision to connect with the diner community. She wouldn't merely be another manager. She would be a vessel of distributed achievement, invigorated by empathy and resilience. Returning home, she began to rewrite her initial narrative. Where once fear resided, there blossomed a story of fortitude and ambition. She took time to explore her motivations, merging them with the diner's revitalization efforts. Thoughts drifted toward what would resonate most with the local crowd, what they longed for beyond food, perhaps a sense of belonging crafted from shared experiences. Could the diner itself evolve to be more than just a place to eat, but a hub for personal connections? In her late-night reflection, she wrote down a vision for the diner on her ever-present notepad, outlining the theme of community and connection. It was brimming with ideas to hold events that would showcase local talent, facilitate open forums to welcome patrons to share their stories, and engage everyone on a level deeper than mere transactions. But as she drifted into sleep, a familiar anxiety flickered to life. Jack's shadow hovered again at the edges of her thoughts, his disapproving glare a reminder of what was at stake. The looming confrontation always stirred an unsettling blend of dread and determination. She could envision the moment now, the stakes amplifying as she articulated her dreams in the face of his scrutiny and the reflection of her bathroom mirror the next morning. A simmering resolve flashed. The confrontation would occur. How she approached it would define the trajectory of not just the diner, but her entire life. With thoughts racing, she mused over what would happen when they faced each other again. Would she allow him to pigeonhole her dreams? Or could she redefine her narrative? As she stepped out into that new day, resolutely preparing for the grand relaunch, the weight of possibility twisted her stomach with both excitement and apprehension. Yet she knew there was power in owning her story. How she confronted Jack could either solidify her newfound identity or fracture it completely. The moment was fast approaching, and with it, the truth about her transformation awaited. Would she have the courage to wield her narrative against the man who threatened her newfound life? The day of the diner's soft relaunch dawned with a sense of electric anticipation. Emily stood in the back, watching as the staff prepped the kitchen, and her heart raced with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Every face that moved about the diner held an echo of her journey, the dreams, the struggles, the late nights spent plotting a new future. But today, another weight pressed down on her. The impending confrontation with Jack. With every breath, she reminded herself of the insights gleaned from Mr. Jenkins. This was a chance to assert her identity, to stand firm in the narrative she had crafted for herself. But lurking beneath her resolve was the familiar current of doubt, an anxious whisper questioning her strength. As the clock ticked closer to opening, the atmosphere buzzed. Emily wandered through the space she had reimagined, ensuring every detail: new menus showcasing local ingredients, an inviting setup for customers to comfortably mingle, and a fresh earth tone palette that breathed warmth into the diner. The renovations were more than aesthetic. They represented her vision of community. But could she voice that vision in front of Jack? The thought sent a shiver of uncertainty racing through her. Just as she prepared to center herself, her phone vibrated, a message from Jack. "I'm on my way. Let us talk." With a deep breath, she returned to the kitchen. Surrounding her were her team members, the heart of her renewed venture. "Okay, everyone, we've worked hard for this day," she began, her voice steady yet charged. "Let us show our guests the heart of what this diner stands for." Collectively, they rallied, laughter and energy sparking as they embraced the moment together. Yet, even as she spoke, Emily's mind drifted. How would she balance this moment of triumph with her thoughts of Jack? She had crafted a vision that painted over the scars of the past, and now she felt the ghost of her former self trying to claw back into focus. As customers began to trickle in, Emily embraced the shift. Each new face brought a sense of validation. However, the moment she spotted Jack entering was like a world shifting beneath her feet. The diner buzzed around her, busy and vibrant, but her focus narrowed solely on him. He approached with a confident stride, but Emily stood grounded, reflecting the resilience she'd nurtured over weeks. "Emily," he greeted, feigning warmth, but she sensed the undertone laced with challenge, as if he were scrutinizing her every move. "Jack," she replied, her voice carrying a firmness that startled even her. There was power in denying him the narrative she feared he would impose. "Thanks for coming." Tension crackled in the air between them, a palpable charge that seemed to freeze the moment as customers floated around, unaware. She could feel her heart pounding, each beat chanting an encouragement to stand firm in her identity. As the first orders went out and customers began to rave about the flavors, she shot Jack a steady gaze. "What do you think?" she asked, surprising herself with the confidence that swelled within those few words. As if she were daring him to dismiss the reality she had created, he opened his mouth to reply but could only muster a non-committal nod, his bemusement clear. Perhaps he hadn't anticipated this side of her, the force behind her vision, the determination translating into action. Emily leaned into the momentum, even though the ache of doubt persisted in the corners of her mind. "I've learned a lot since we last spoke," she continued, feeling a well of fortitude. "I'm ready to take this on." For a moment Jack held her gaze, and she saw something flicker behind his eyes, surprise mingled with caution. Despite the history they shared, there was a grain of admiration there that lit a flame of triumphant satisfaction deep inside her. Yet as exhilarating as that moment felt, she knew the confrontation was far from over. The true test of her journey would not only lie in this initial exchange, but in sustaining her narrative in the face of pushback. As the diner thrummed with lively sounds and shared laughter, Emily remained anchored, ready to face whatever came next. The current had shifted, but the battle for her identity was just beginning. What would Jack say next? Would he attempt to undermine her confidence, or would she find a way to assert her vision more boldly? The stakes were higher than ever, and she was determined to navigate them all. As she took a deep breath and focused on the satisfied voices around her, she wondered, could she maintain this narrative against his expected resistance? The answer awaited in the next chapter of her life. The energy in the diner pulsed with life, yet Emily felt her own world shrink to the tense dialogue she could sense looming between herself and Jack. Moments passed as she prepared for his response, breathing through the mounting pressure inside her. She could almost hear the collective hum of excitement around her, a reminder that this place represented her rebirth, her new identity. There was a dichotomy within her, a spirited atmosphere clashing against the turbulence she felt rising from Jack. "What's the plan now?" Jack finally asked, his tone crisp, and she could feel every eye in the diner drifting toward them for answers as if they were a stage duo in a crucial scene. This was the moment. She could either recede into doubt or push forward into assertion. "The plan is to serve amazing food and create a space where people can feel at home," she replied, her voice firm as she focused on the warmth of her new vision. "It's about the experience, Jack. Not just the food but a nurturing environment." His brow furrowed, skepticism evident. "That's a nice thought, Emily, but will it hold up?" Things were different before. The history they shared was a heavy coat draped over her shoulders. She could feel the heat rising within. Wanting to dismantle the remnants of doubt he attempted to project. "Things have changed, Jack. I've changed. I have a team who believes in this." "I believe in this," she said, a volley of emotion threading through her words. Jack studied her, an inscrutable expression masking the thoughts that whirred in his mind. Beneath his exterior, Emily detected a glimmer of recognition. For the first time, perhaps he was witnessing the flame igniting within her that had battled his undertows for so long. The chatter around them began to fade, and she hyper-focused on driving her point home. "I understand your doubts, and trust me, I've battled them daily. I've spent late nights questioning whether I was cut out for this vision, this responsibility. But every time I walk through this diner, I feel a strength I never knew existed. I won't let anyone diminish that, not even you." The declaration hung heavily in the air, and she could see the cogs in his mind turning. Was he beginning to realize that her transformation affected him too? In their moments together, like a dance of shadows and light, she felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration collide. Jack's mouth opened slightly, his strong facade wavering, yet Emily didn't want to allow his next words to anchor her down. She sensed the holiness in what she'd accomplished so far, and it was fragile. Could she truly trust him to respect it in this new chapter? "Before, there was a certain ethos we shared," he countered, as if testing the waters of her resolve. "Are you telling me you're ready to separate from that?" Her heart fluttered. This was unexpected, a direct challenge that lit the spark of her determination. "What I'm telling you is that I'm ready to define my ethos. I'm not asking for permission. I'm carving my path." The nervous thrill coursing through her felt like swimming against waves. Yet she refused to back down. She pivoted her focus back to the bustling diner. Her team hustled between tables, laughter mingled with the rhythmic clinking of dishes, each small victory echoing her courage. "Show me the proof," Jack finally replied, crossing his arms, an inflection of curiosity sewn into his challenge. In that moment she understood that respect wouldn't come free. She'd have to earn it. Could she truly cultivate something persistent in the face of his resistance? A wave of determination washed over her. "What would you like to see?" "I'll make it happen," she vowed, her tone resolute. Empowerment pierced through the layers of her despair, igniting a new kind of confidence that encouraged her to step deeper into this conversation rather than retreat. She'd spent so long trying to prove herself to him. Perhaps it was time to focus on proving it to herself. As she awaited Jack's response, the air pulsed with potential. She felt the weight shift once again, not into doubt but into resolution. Doubt had flourished, but that shriveled away as the steady beat of the diner's atmosphere surged through her. "Tomorrow, let us have a meeting to review everything in detail," Jack finally stated, a resolute tone echoing his transformed posture. She hadn't expected a concession, but she felt like a player rising to meet a new challenge. But her gaze fixed on Jack's eyes, realizing this was only part of the struggle. What would he really reveal in that meeting? With the stakes rising, Emily knew her quest for authenticity was just beginning, and the ultimate test lay ahead. Every detail of her plans had to withstand scrutiny. "Every moment counts," she whispered to herself, bracing for the next chapter. Did she truly have what it took to fend off the ghosts of their past and forge a new narrative? The question loomed, heavy and electric, as she steeled herself for the unpredictability that lay ahead. Would she emerge victorious? Or could this moment unravel everything she had built? The following morning arrived with a bitter tang of uncertainty that filled the diner. Emily paced behind the counter, hands moving almost instinctively as she prepped for the meeting with Jack. With each ripple of activity around her chef's slicing, waitstaff rushing, her resolve deepened. She was on the brink of a moment that could either solidify her identity or break her fragile momentum. Anticipation churned in her stomach as the clock ticked nearer to the meeting time. She glanced at the entrance, half expecting Jack to walk in, his imposing figure heralding a wave of questions. Everything hinged on this discussion. If she faltered now, the edifice of her ambitions could come crashing down before Jack arrived. Emily reflected on her journey, wandering through foggy doubts, yet somehow finding her way back to the kitchen, her sanctuary. The scents of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling bacon wove a tapestry of nostalgia around her. It was a reminder of her early days in the diner, the laughter, the late-night conversations over steaming pots of soup. But this was different. She was no longer just a participant in someone else's dream. She was the architect now. Jack pushed through the door right on time, but the usual confidence in his stride appeared slightly muted. Emily noticed the way his gaze swept across the diner, as if measuring its worthiness. It stung, but she pushed aside that flicker of vulnerability. "Emily," he greeted, his voice steady yet threaded with an undercurrent of caution. "Let us get to it." She motioned for him to take a seat, gathering her notes as she fought to quell the tension coiling in her chest. The initial small talk felt hollow, each word a dance around the real issue. She mustered her courage, all the determination swelling in her gut, and dove in. "I've outlined our service timeline and marketing strategies," she began, her voice unwavering. "I believe this can work." Each point she articulated was an assertion, an unyielding reaffirmation of her intent. Jack listened, eyebrows furrowing deeper with each passing bullet point on her agenda. Regardless of his skepticism, Emily could see the spark of acknowledgement as she elaborated on plans for themed brunches, local partnerships, and community events. They were designed to breathe life back into the diner while creating emotional connections with its patrons. "Why should I believe you?" Jack interjected, his arms crossed defensively. "You think a few ideas and events can change the narrative here?" The challenge hung heavy in the air, words cutting sharper than she had anticipated. The hurt from their past mingled with the weight of expectation. "It's not just about ideas," she responded, swallowing the bitterness. "It's about commitment. If I fail, that's on me. But I need you to trust me just this once. I'm not asking for permission. I'm asking for partnership." For a moment, silence enveloped them. She saw the war within his eyes, a man wrestling with pride, history, and the potential for renewal. Vulnerability pulsed between them, creating fragile threads of connection. "Okay," he finally replied, but his tone remained cautious. "Let us see how you execute. Schedule a series of tastings this week, get feedback from regulars, and let us talk about the launch strategy afterwards." Her heart pounded with excitement, a mixture of surprise and relief rippling through her. This was the opening she needed. "Absolutely. I'll organize everything." "Thank you." Jack offered a curt nod, and Emily could feel an unexpected current of hope surge within her, the kind that vibrated with possibility. She was reclaiming her voice, assertive and bold, a tightrope stretched between aspiration and reality. As they wrapped up the meeting, her mind raced with the next steps. There was no time to lose. She had a plan to execute, a vision to realize, and she felt a drive propelling her into the unknown. But just as she began ruminating on strategies, she caught Jack's lingering gaze, a subtle flicker of something deeper flickering in his eyes, a trace of doubt, perhaps an olive branch. Of curiosity. What did he really think of her now? As she prepared to face her team, an unsettling awareness settled over her. If Jack's approval was to be her stamp of credibility, could she maintain her conviction? Or would it sway under the weight of nostalgia and shared history? This was more than just about making the diner work. This was her battle against her own insecurities. She could feel the threshold of transformation closing in, yet there awaited a storm of challenges just outside her reach. Gripping her notepad tightly, she ventured into the dining area, the hum of conversation lapping at her like waves testing a beachside fortress. Would she have the strength to rise above the murky waters of doubt, or would she inevitably sink back into the currents of her past? Each moment pulsed with potential, an electric reminder that her journey was just beginning, and the true test would come when she faced herself. Would she break through? Or would the chorus of past fears drown her calls for authenticity? Emily stepped into the dining area, feeling the familiar warmth of the diner envelop her like an old friend. Yet the atmosphere had shifted. What had once brought her comfort now bore down on her, heavy with responsibility. She moved through the maze of tables, the clinking of silverware and the murmur of low conversation grounding her as she focused on the task ahead. No longer was she simply an employee. She was a leader, and it was time to rally her team. Gathering her staff for a quick huddle, she felt a mix of excitement and anxiety ripple through her. She was about to share her vision with everyone, transforming the diner from a mere eatery into a haven for culinary exploration. The thought invigorated her, but she wrestled with an underlying fear. What if they didn't believe in her idea? What if Jack's caution echoed in their reactions? "All right, everyone," she began, her voice rising slightly over the dining din. She assessed the faces looking back at her, some familiar, some newer. "I know things have felt stagnant around here, but I have a plan to breathe new life into this place." A few skeptical glances darted around the group, but she pushed through the discomfort. "We'll be organizing tastings, a chance for our customers to play a role in shaping our menu. Community feedback will be key." She paused, gauging their reactions. "I believe we can make this diner a centerpiece of our local culture, a place where memories are made." Silence followed her proclamation, a tension-strung moment suspended in air. She craved feedback, but the collective hesitance was palpable. It left a prickling doubt in her mind. Was she asking too much? A young waiter, Max, shifted his weight, fidgeting with his apron. "How do we know it's going to work? This has been a tough crowd to please." Before he trailed off, his skepticism resonating loudly. Emily's chest tightened at the challenge, but she refused to let it penetrate her resolve. "You're right, Max, change doesn't come easy, but I'm not asking you to take a blind leap of faith. Let us test it. Collaborate with me. Share ideas. Get feedback. That's how we grow." Max met her gaze and nodded slowly, considering. As the tension ebbed slightly, a sense of collaboration began to weave itself into the conversation. The older waitress, Clara, chimed in. "We've got potential here, Emily. Let us bring back the warmth. How about themed nights?" The idea clicked, sparking an electric buzz among the staff. A whirlwind of voices began tossing out suggestions, laughter echoing as they brainstormed foods they could highlight, events that reflected the diner's spirit. Emily felt her heartbeat quicken, aligning with the energy in the room, a remnant of the passion that had drawn her back to the diner in the first place. They shared visions now, and each voice added depth to her initial dream. The realization that she wasn't alone fueled her further. There was power in unity, and here they were, creating something together. As the meeting wound down, she caught Clara's eye. The older woman had always been a touchstone of wisdom in the diner. "Thank you, Clara," Emily said, her voice softer, "for believing in us. I really feel like we can do this." The day passed in a blur of activity, each hurried moment lined with purpose. But as the sun dipped, casting golden light through the diner's windows, a more profound truth settled in her mind. This was about more than menus and events. It was rooted deeply in her journey, her default positions shifting as she embraced vulnerability and leadership. Just as she closed up for the night, the weight of Jack's earlier gaze swirled back into focus. There remained an unvoiced challenge between them, a question lingering in the air. Could she not only change the diner but redefine her past connection with him? Was she ready to reconcile both her ambitions and her history? As she drove home, the engine humming beneath her, Emily found her thoughts drifting towards the tastings. The anticipation buzzed again, but mixed with a hint of trepidation. What if they didn't take her seriously? An unyielding determination embraced her as she clenched the steering wheel tighter. There were still shadows to confront, and she realized this was only the beginning. Tomorrow would demand more than just ideas. It would uncover those layers of doubt and fear she thought she had buried. The time had come to confront not just Jack but her own lingering insecurities. With a determined breath, she whispered to herself, "The time had come to face not only the diner but who I am becoming." Emily stood in the center of the diner, its warm glow enveloping her like a hug from a long-lost friend. The soft chatter of customers had become a symphony of gratitude, a testament to her recent efforts. The relaunch had not just been a milestone for the diner. It had been an affirmation of her growing identity. Each compliment and smile served as a brick in the foundation she was building, a sanctuary rooted in resilience and authenticity. The initiative had ignited conversations, allowed her to connect with her beloved community, and this was just the beginning. Months earlier, the weight of betrayal had threatened to consume her, but now it had become fuel. Emily had evolved from the woman who mourned the loss of her future with Jack to a leader who harnessed her experiences to empower herself and those around her. She could feel the laughter and energy reverberate off the walls, reminding her of the countless nights spent envisioning this moment. The plan she had developed to involve the community in the diner's rejuvenation bore fruit. After hosting a series of successful tasting events, Emily was not just in control. She was thriving, proving to herself that she could forge her own path independently. Word of her success spread, bringing eager patrons through the door, each representing an affirmation of her journey. Jack's departure from her life felt less of a demise and more of a liberation. Her phone buzzed on the counter, breaking her moment of reflection. A notification from a local food blogger, praising her bold new menu and inviting her for an interview. Excitement surged through her. Opportunities were opening up more than she had ever envisioned. She had transformed a mere diner into a home, a refuge where people came to escape the pressures of life and indulge in comfort food meant for sharing. But amidst her rising success, Emily resolved to address Jack once more. She had been avoiding him, understanding that their past connection needed closure for her to fully embrace her newfound identity. The fear of past wounds reopening clawed at her. Yet it was time to relinquish the hold he had on her narrative, to stand before him not as a defeated woman but a mentor of her own story. She arranged to meet him at the diner one evening, the place that had bound them together and now symbolized her independence. As the hour approached, determination eclipsed her anxiety. This encounter would affirm the growth she had accomplished and the resilience she had cultivated. When Jack entered, the air thickened with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. His eyes flickered across the diner, absorbing the change's bustling activity, laughter echoing loudly, the walls adorned with photographs that encapsulated the community's warmth. There was no arrogance in his stride now. Instead, it felt tentative, almost humble. "Emily," he greeted, his earlier bravado replaced by a tentative acknowledgement of the space around them. "Jack," she met his gaze, fortified by conviction. The din of the diner faded as their world shrunk to their hesitant conversation. "I wanted to talk to you about what's happened since we last saw each other." He nodded, leaning against the counter, as if seeking to anchor himself in unfamiliar territory. "I've heard a lot about the changes. Seems to be coming together." She took a breath, harnessing the empowerment she had cultivated, determined to assert her newfound autonomy. "It has, but this isn't merely about the diner. It's about me reclaiming who I am beyond what we once shared. I've grown, Jack. I've learned that success isn't defined by others but cultivated through resilience." His expression softened, and a flicker of respect mingled with surprise crossed his features. "I didn't think you'd bounce back this way. I underestimated you." Emily felt the warmth of liberation. This moment was not about seeking validation anymore. "It's not about how you perceived me. I needed to truly discover my strengths, those shaped by my own efforts and choices, not your narrative." Their exchange carried the weight of understanding, a shared history that had shaped both of them, but no longer confined her to a singular destiny. It was a conversation based on recognition, and beneath the surface lay a newfound respect, each of them recognizing the other's evolution. "I want you to know I'm not here to fight," she continued, carrying a resolve that chipped away the remnants of the past. "But I needed this reclamation to solidify what I want for myself in the diner. It signifies hope, not just for me, but for everyone connected to this legacy." Jack searched her eyes, perhaps reflecting on the time they had shared, his vulnerabilities emerging from the layers he had once concealed. "I suppose I thought breaking ties meant erasing past connections, but maybe it's about redefining them instead." With that, they both understood past wounds could heal, but the new identity they crafted could not be colored by past betrayals. As they parted ways, Emily felt a definitive peace enveloping her. The transformation she had undergone was no longer just about the success of the diner. It was about her personal forging ahead into unfamiliar territory with the competence of someone who had truly emerged from the ashes tonight. As she walked through the lively diner, its heartbeats resonating with camaraderie, she reclaimed her place within that sacred space not just as the determined woman who survived betrayal, but as the proud leader she had chosen to become. Emily had conquered not only her past but future possibilities that lay ahead. She was now a recognized force, a testament to individual growth, and the embodiment of resilient ambition. She no longer craved approval. She was the shining example of the metamorphosis that could arise from adversity. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking in the atmosphere filled with laughter, the smells wafting from the kitchen, and the inspired chatter weaving around her a fulfillment that settled deeply in her bones. She had emerged not just for herself, but for everyone who believed in her. And as the night unfolded, she realized the true exhilaration existed not just in her achievements, but the unyielding confidence that she could pave her own path with grace. Emily smiled, ready to embrace whatever came next, stepping forward into a future forged through her own indomitable spirit. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm because it really helps us grow. Comment your reactions and theories about this emotional journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share your thoughts. True fans of personal overcoming stories know that every action counts.